Good morning. I invite you to stand for the playing of Jamaica's national anthem. Please remain standing, and at this time we invite Mrs. Denise Thompson-Blair to offer prayers.
Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege it is to carry everything to God in prayer. Most righteous, eternal God, we want to thank you for bringing us here today, one more day that we have seen that we have never seen before. And for that purpose, oh God, we want to glorify and magnify your name because you are great. The songwriter says, "Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. All we have needed, Almighty God, your hands have provided. And, oh God, great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto thee." Lord, we want to thank you for your faithfulness towards the Early Childhood Commission. We want to thank you for your faithfulness towards the early childhood sector. We want to thank you for your faithfulness towards the education ministry. Almighty God, we want to thank you for your faithfulness to the children of this nation. Oh God, we could not have done it without you. So Lord Jesus, we are asking you to continue to wrap us in your arms. Let favor wrap this industry, this education sector. Let your favor wrap us like shield, Almighty God. We call forth blessings in abundance. Oh God, we pray that you will touch our partners. Oh God, you will touch our stakeholders so they will give like they have never given before. We call forth these resources from the north, south, east, and west. And we call it done in the name of Jesus. Because, oh God, you're going to take this sector to the next level. Mighty God, we want to thank you for the visionaries and the leaders of this nation who have seen it fit to put investment in early childhood, Almighty God. Heavenly Father, without our children, we don't have a future. So, oh God, I pray that you will continue to open doors. We pray for our open heaven over this ministry. We pray for open heaven over this commission. We pray for open heaven, Almighty God, over this sector in the name of Jesus. Mighty God, we commit every proceedings this morning into your hands. And we want to thank you for all that you have done throughout this Professional Development Institute. Oh God, we want to thank you for the practitioners. Oh God, they logged on and they log in to everything that was being said and was shared. Oh God, we thank you for the presenters who made themselves available. I pray that you will open doors that the enemy can't shut in their lives. Almighty God, we want to thank you for every person that took part in this closing ceremony, Almighty God, that took part in this conference. Oh God, I pray that you will bless them in abundance. God, we'll commit everything into your hands because your word told us that that if we commit our ways unto you, you will establish our path. So mighty God, we thank you for establishing the good works that you're going to start in this ministry and in this commission. Mighty God, glorify yourself. Let nothing stop your flow. Let nothing stop your anointing, because your people are anointed for this purpose. We are called for action because we are innovators in this industry. So mighty God, we say, pour out your blessing like you have never done before. Do it again, Almighty God, because you have done it before. Glorify yourself in everything that will be said and done today, as we look to you by faith and we seal our prayers with your blood and we call it done in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Thompson Blair. And we say seal and sign, and we dip. All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the ECC's final day of the Professional Development Institute. And what a wonderful time it has been all week. I have joined a few of the sessions and I just felt like keep going. I was in meetings and I just joined on the other device and I'm in the sessions, and I'm telling you, I was excited. The content, the discussion, the discourse, really exciting. And so if it is that you have enjoyed to this point the Professional Development Institute, I'm going to ask you to send some messages in the chat. Type in the yay and the ray and the tay and whatever it is that suggests to us that you enjoyed it, because I see them in the chat them from in a week, so we want to see them right now. So the team is right there looking out for all the messages. We want to know that you enjoyed the sessions that you participated in. But of course, Professional Development Institute would not be possible without the collaboration of other entities. And so today we want to say thanks to the Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network, the Culture, Health, Arts, Sports and Education, Chase Fund, and the Burita Foundation, who generously sponsored the program. And at this time is a snap finger, and we just have big them up, because we can't do it without them. We couldn't do it without them, and we look forward. I hope it is that they signed on for the next 3 years. Right, Mrs. D? Yeah, that's what the contract says, Burita, the next 3 years, because guess what? We're only going to get bigger and better. Bigger and better. We're only able to do this because of your contribution. I am Leighton Jones. You should know that from Monday, so I'm going to have to say that again. I am Leighton Jones, and I'll be hosting you through today's closing ceremony. Now, we would have had over about 105 sessions over the period, somewhere like there. I wonder if anybody was able to go to all of them. I wonder if anybody was. If you were able to go to all of them, please type in the chat that you went to all of them. And I say that because I know you couldn't go to all of them at the same time. But you see how ECC do them thing now. You notice that one of the tracks is about technology in early childhood development, and the ECC is leading that charge. So they're not only expecting that within the schools that these tracks are there, they are practicing it right here at the ECC. Because guess what they were able to do? The sessions are live, you join them live, but then also we ensure that, we're in the time when we're going with the synchronous and the asynchronous, and then the word they are going out in COVID, And so ECC just have put it on. Synchronous experience and the asynchronous experience. And so if it is that there was a session that your friend told you was the bomb, but you were in another session, all you have to do is to go back in and then you can access those sessions. So when I ask you if you have to all 105, that's what I want to hear from you. Did you participate synchronously in these sessions today, but then you couldn't sleep over the rest of the evening, so you go on and join the session that you're missing this morning and the next session and the next session. So by now you would have attended all of them. If not, guess what? All of them are accessible to you. And so we invite you to go to the ECC website, which I did over the couple of days. And when you go to ECC website, you will see PDI, and you click on PDI, and then you will see the different days, and you click on the different days. It is so accessible, and when you click on the different days, you will see the schedule, and you can just click on the thing, and it says show video, and you just watch like you did it from start. You have no problem. And so guess what? You can attend all 105 sessions. And believe me when I tell you that the ones I have seen have been really good, very enriching, and I'm quite sure that all of them are just the same. So you cannot afford to miss those. And of course, I just want to share with you our tracks. Track 1, parenting. Track 2, early learning and care. Track 3, stream, that's science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Track 4, transition. Track 5, technology in ECD. Track 6, leadership. And track 7, advocacy. Now, today, you are all invited to share in our plenary sessions. And so we're going to be having 2 plenary sessions today. And we're moving into the first plenary session, and today we're looking at social and emotional support for early childhood practitioners during and after the pandemic. Many times, if we are not careful, we focus on, oh, the children are missing out, and how are the children going to learn, and how is this going to happen, and the children are being affected, and we forget a very important part of the learning process, the facilitators of learning. And so we want to make sure that we cater to them, because while it is that the children can learn vicariously, we want to ensure that we have apt facilitators to guide the process of learning. And so today we're going to be looking at the social and emotional support for early childhood practitioners during and after the pandemic. And of course, at this time, I'm going to be inviting Miss Corrine Francis, who's going to be the facilitator of this session, and she will take it from there.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our first workshop for this morning. And as Mr. Campbell would have mentioned, it is the social and emotional support for early child practitioners during and after the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic may be slowing down, but the well-being of teachers, as highlighted, has heightened the importance of social and emotional wellness. With the benefits and challenges of online learning, working from home and curfews to the reopening of schools, implementing safety measures, and just getting back to normal, teachers are experiencing high levels of social and emotional stress. Let's explore together these stressors, how to manage them, and the communities in which to support our social and emotional needs in and out of the classroom. Now, our presenter for this workshop is Dr. Miguel Barker. Dr. Barker hails from Anatomy St. Mary. He attended Anatomy All Age, the St. Mary High School, Paisley Gardens Teachers College, and the University of the West Indies. Dr. Barker is an elected fellow from the Institute of Mathematics and the Association for the Advancement of International Education. He holds an international baccalaureate, a GCSE, IMYC, and UK National Curriculum experience. Dr. Barker is a researcher in school leadership and an assessor of national professional qualification for senior and middle leaders. He is a conference presenter on critical thinking, systems thinking, ethical leadership, and curriculum innovation. Dr. Barker is the co-host of Edu Talk with Dr. Dwayne Dice. It is a bi-weekly talk show focused on educational issues. He is the chairman of the Jamaica Middle East Diaspora Educational Task Force, in which he delivered tablets to early child institutions during COVID-19 and hosted math clinics for primary students. He has 28 years in the field of education within the UK, Jamaica, and Oman. Dr. Barker is currently the school principal at ABA Women International School. He enjoys the games of Scrabble and chess. Dr. Barker is married with 4 beautiful children. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have been having some wonderful workshops and plenary sessions over the past few days, and this workshop will be no different. I now turn over to Dr. Barker.
Unmute. Let's get this going. All right, so thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much, presenter, for such a rousing introduction. And I hope that I do justice to that introduction as I share my thoughts about what we have experienced as educators during the pandemic, and then to look at perhaps some things that we need to do as we emerge from the pandemic and looking beyond. And some of these things that I'm looking at will be talking about, for example, getting, what's going on the screen here? Yes, some of the things I'll be looking at is maybe some of the structural changes that we need to make as a country. Now, just to bring things up to speed, I'm a middle school principal. I'm living in the Middle East at the moment. So just to let you know, I'm beaming in at 6:20 in the evening, just to give you a flavor of what my day might have been like as I sign in now. So I look forward to sharing, and I shared last year, and I thought perhaps it's a good time to share again. So thank you very much. Before I get into the depth of this, I want to, okay, but it's working. Okay, so before I get into the depth of this, I just wanted to bear tribute to my community, and not to be said here, that's where I spent most of my formative years. And before I forget, there are 3 basic schools. This is where I come in with the basic school piece on it, the ECI. I went to Mother Senior Basic School, and I remember my teacher named Miss Carla. I don't know if she's even alive at the moment, but she still has an impact on me. And then I know Mrs. Walker, who dedicated her entire life to developing Church Hall, and the late Mrs. Walker. And I remember my father's wife and my stepmother, who started a basic school that's still running right now in Yorkton. So, and I spent a period of time in those schools. So wherever I am now, I know that I owe it to the sacrifice, the service of these women who dedicated their lives to educating at that level. So I am who I am because of who these people are and what they have decided to give. So I begin by maybe sharing one of the most powerful images that we all will use to refer to what happened in the last 2 years. And the remnants of that is all over the world at the moment. And that is the mask. That is the one thing that will take away from COVID, in the sense that this is the one unifying piece that anywhere in the world you go at the moment, a mask is a way of reminding us that we all went through COVID. Many of us, the only time we have seen a mask is maybe when we go to the hospital and you see the doctor put the mask on, or you see someone who is thinking that maybe working in the rubbish, some working in the, cleaning up garbage might wear this. But in reality, once we hit the pandemic, this became the defining clothing. So as much as you're leaving out your house, you'll take up your phone, you may take up your car key, and you may take up your wallet, you have to take up your mask as well. So it's an instrumental piece. I think one of the key things that for a while when I traveled to the Eastern, the Far East, Thailand and those parts of the world, you'd see people wearing masks because it's maybe a natural thing in that part, as a lot of epidemics may have broken out and people are wearing it. But one of the things I remember is that I remember being part of a discussion with the ASCD, and as maybe about a year and a half ago. And this is an organization that's based in the US that looks at curriculum supervision and development. And what they were talking about was the difficulties for school leaders at the time in terms of leading during a pandemic. And I kind of made the connection with us wearing masks. And I'm talking now about not only the physical mask, but also the metaphorical mask. The idea that as teachers, we have a lot of things that we keep behind. And even before there was a physical mask, we always had to carry a different mask as teachers. Even if we were having real challenges, we still had to wear something in order to do our jobs. So we got to a point, and so it's something that to keep in mind, that as teachers, we always are wearing masks. Even when we take off the physical one, we have to wear another one, because if you have any challenges at home, any response to any trauma, when you turn up for work, you have to put on a mask in order to deliver in that regard. But I also thought about this kind of mask as well. And when you go on the airplane, there's a whole process that as soon as the flight is ready for takeoff, the cabin crew would begin to instruct us on how to put this mask on. And there's a very important part that they always say, that if you're traveling with young people or any vulnerable person, it is important first that you put your mask on before you begin to put the life-saving equipment on anyone else. And that's something that many times people even forget to pay attention to. But it tells us a lot as well. For example, it made me think a little bit about us as teachers, who many times we need to take care of ourselves. But we forget about that. Don't take care of ourselves, and we focus on trying to help others while we might be putting ourselves at risk. And in so doing, we may put everyone else at risk. So the tone of my presentation today is a lot about us as educators being aware that as we enter the classroom and into an educational space, we also need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. Because a very important piece here is that that's how we provide that emotional support for ourselves so that we can be productive. And that is important, whether we had a pandemic or not. But COVID has allowed us to realize that this is really a key point in terms of the life world of an educator. I found this graphic online. We're teaching, you have some pains hit you in certain places. But some people, teaching is one of those places that people will agree is one of the most stressful occasions, because we are intertwined in the lives of our children, the students that we work with, the young people we work with. It takes us over. And so as much as our stress and all that, teaching in many ways take over all parts of your body. It's meant to be a little bit of a fun, but many teachers this will resonate with. Another example of what people used to say about teachers, a friend says, "You look tired." And the person says, "I'm a teacher. I'm pretty sure that's just my face now." Because when you're working, sometimes, you're so involved in it that you end up becoming a part of it. You wear that face most of your time now, your teacher face, as we would say. There's a lovely book that I came across. It says, if you don't feed the teachers, they eat the students. And it's a book that was written quite a while back, but the idea behind the book, I wonder what, and I don't know, I'm not able to see what's going on in the, I like to have an interactive experience with my audience. So I want to know if you saw this book, and please feel free to type, what might you expect to read about in this book? So you're walking through a bookshop and Dr. Neil O'Connor's book is there. And it says, if you don't feed the teachers, they eat the student. And I'm going to just give you like a 30-second or so just to play with that thought. You saw the book, it drew your attention. And now the question is, what might you expect to read in this book? And as I say, I'm not able to see if there's anyone responding in order to know what people are saying. So if there's a way in which I can see that, that's fine. If not, I'll just assume that people are responding to that. I'll give you about 20 seconds or so more just to respond, because I like to have that kind of connection with the people I'm talking with. Okay, so Neil O'Connor's book really is talking about the idea of ensuring that your teachers are metaphorically fed, meaning they're satisfied. Because if they are not satisfied and if they are in a stressful environment, then obviously the quality of learning that young children will experience will not be of high quality. So effectively, you're not really eating the kids, but when you think about it, it's the metaphor that carries through. If you're not feeding your teachers, they will eat the students. And it's worthy reading this book because it will give you an idea about the importance of not only self-care, but organizations being mindful about how they are taking care of their teachers as they ask them to take care of young children. So I don't know what he came up with, but the book is pretty much around that, and it's a really good read as well. So one of the things that we need to think about is what is social support. Now, social support, interestingly, it's the belief, is a belief that others will be perceptive to a person's needs and try to help them through either emotional or instrumental support. So there's this, you have social support when you believe that others will be able to help you. Very important. When you believe you have social support, is a belief that you have, that it exists. So people will know that you need help and they will help you in different ways. That's what the idea of social support is. Now, some people might say, maybe that's not it, it could exist, but if it exists and you don't believe that it exists, then technically you will not reach out for that support. You will not use that support, you will not access that support. So it's important that when we have social support, that the people who would benefit from it are of the belief that it does exist and that people will recognize their responses and be able to help them. Now, there are two ways in which, when you talk about social support, you have emotional support, somebody who can put a hug around you, someone who might say nice things with you, someone who might sit with you, someone who will understand how you feel and let you know, give you a chance to speak about how you speak. That's a kind of emotional support. And then there's the instrumental support. Sometimes it may be somewhere to stay. Sometimes it's somewhere, some money. Sometimes it's different. It's more of a physical kind of a support, more tangible kind of support that someone will provide for you but it exists and allows you to feel supported. And so in some ways, you're strengthened knowing that if something should happen to you, you know that you have this support in place, someone to speak to, someone who could help you through a challenging time. It's very important that we understand this from the perspective as an internalized experience and not something that someone says, but we have social support or we have emotional support for teachers. Unless teachers or anyone for that matter believe that social support is there and is responsive, then it doesn't really exist. And so it's a mindset that even administrators, school leaders, governments have to bear in mind as they think about what they say they have in place. To what extent are people fully aware and believe that this support exists for them? Because that is when people will feel supported, and that's when they'll take risks. That's when they will walk into certain areas knowing that they'll be supported if things are becoming a little bit difficult to handle. This is, the example of a teacher at times, especially coming out of the pandemic. Teachers did feel a lot of stress coming out of the pandemic. As I mentioned, we have different kinds of support, and I already mentioned, and then you have informational support, which may be places where you can go and read information that is going to help you to do well. Now, we can get support from different sources. For example, school leaders are good people for support because they are in your workplace and they're near to you, so they can provide that support. The mindset I said before, people must believe that these are people that they can go to benefit from that support. It's very important that we keep that in mind, that it's about the belief that the support exists. So school leaders have to be a lot more than saying, if they wanted to come and see me, why didn't they come and see me? You're having stress, how come no one come and see me? Unless people believe that you will be perceptive and be able to support them through these challenges, whether emotionally or instrumentally or informationally, they will not reach out. So it's very important that as we support teachers coming out of the pandemic, and even when they were doing it, I hear that I'm sure I read something today that says the mask mandate is back in schools. I don't know if it extends to early childhood, but it's certainly going back into school. So effectively, we're beginning to feel that stress again, trying to read students' eyes to see if they are fully engaged in learning, for some people, at least in the education system. Where I'm at the moment, certain ages do not wear masks. Are not allowed to, needing to wear masks, and that's a parental and a family decision. But these are the kind of sources in which we can get social support. Again, when we talk about social and emotional support, there are many angles we can get them from. We're talking about within the community, talking about from school, talking about from your family. So we can get counseling. Sometimes it depends on where people are. They might need someone to talk them through. I mean, COVID was a really challenging time, and I'm going to show you some pieces of research that's connecting, seeming like it's different contexts, but will resonate with people in Jamaica. Well-being programs, whether inside of school, outside of school, or even remote or in a hybrid format. Support groups, again, within your school, outside of school, even online. These are what COVID has done. As much as it was a challenge for teachers, we're realizing that we can now use certain sources that we thought were otherwise difficult to access. For example, I'm doing this presentation now, and there are many years I lived overseas. I never thought that I could contribute in this space and provide even a talk like this to people back in Jamaica. So it's very important that we bear in mind how COVID has made the world a little bit smaller in that sense, and now we need to figure out ways in which we can move forward and support each other. Online networks, I mentioned that already. Social interaction, that's within even a school environment or with your family or in the community. These are ways in which sources that people find social support in. As I said, a wellness center, well-being program, school fitness center. Now, some places you work, they have these as part of it. I remember someone who mentioned that at one of his schools, he said if a teacher comes in and is not feeling well, they need to go for a run. He's allowing them. Now, I know that that's not something that, but what do people need? Sometimes a person maybe just need a treadmill in a classroom area where they can just clear their brain a little bit. Outings. Now, when I say outings, I'm using the Jamaican context of describing, an excursion. Sometimes all we need to do is go out together with the people we work with just to de-stress, to release some tension, just to have that availability of support. And something that we need to be fully aware of is mindfulness. Just a moment where you need to count down, find a space in your room, maybe do a little bit of stretches, just moments by yourself. Very important as we think about different sources where we can get social and emotional support. And I love the graphic that I saw online, and when you're an early childhood teacher, people think all kind of things about what happens, but in the end, sometimes the basic things that we do sometimes are so important for the learners that are in our space. So some research that talked about what was happening worldwide in the pandemic. Here is Mahe. This was done in 2020. The way it impacts teachers is such an important thing. The fact that, when an education system loses extended periods of learning and teaching due to events like the pandemic, disruptions of the curriculum, like things you really plan to teach to students by that time, it's not possible. As a teacher, that frustrates, and then it moves into stress because you know that the students need to be ready for the next level, right? They need to go to primary school. And you know that if they're not ready, they're going to struggle. So as a teacher, that can impact on your well-being. And this is something that was found in research, that teachers, when people researched teachers in different parts of the world, I think this was done in South Africa, they found that teachers were feeling stressed about just the fact that they weren't able to catch up on what they consider to be learning loss. And then there's another piece that someone else pointed out, that, when you go to teacher training, people don't really focus on teachers' social emotional abilities or even their competence. They assume that once you enter the classroom, you're able to cope with this type of stress. And it's something that I've mentioned in another conversation, the importance of getting into the teacher training aspect and ensuring that we're being mindful about even social and social emotional learning for teachers, because we have to teach teachers how to be mindful so that they can then teach students how to be mindful and so that they can cope in adverse circumstances like this. Another piece of research here, a survey of teachers in the United States revealed that social and emotional support ranked high among their needs as they struggle with psychological well-being challenges during this is the US. So we know that we're in Jamaica at times and we kind of talk about that. So boy, I think this But this is most of the things that we're experiencing. This goes across the world, and the research is saying that this is something that is important. The fact that the Early Childhood Commission feels that a conversation like this is needed to be had is important to bear in mind, because they're recognizing that this is something that is needed. That piece about psychological well-being during the COVID-19 pandemic is across the world. And even in my school, many teachers found it a bit of a struggle to switch to online. And then some people switching to online didn't have the self-efficacy, the belief that they could teach online, and that they needed time in order to develop that confidence. And so that was a bit of a stress. Sometimes I wonder if teachers will experience what is called the PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because of going through the pandemic and having to learn on the job while that was happening. Yes, nice. Sorry, I was just interrupted by my 3-year-old. So in COVID-19 pandemic state, teachers have almost instantaneously been requested to be both creators and instructors, and to navigate their learning spaces using tools that few have confidently mastered. I was just talking about that. This is coming through the research. So it's not Jamaica here, this is different parts of the world, but I'm sure teachers in Jamaica would find this resonant. And another piece of research, again, just to talk about what's happening, just what teachers had to experience, in order to make do. But what the point here is, teachers were facing a lot of stress as they went through the pandemic, not just Jamaica, across the world. So we know that if it is across the world, I know that the same thing would be happening with teachers in Jamaica, especially. I don't want to say especially, because it's surprising sometimes when I travel and I meet people from across the world, the limited resources that exist in some parts of the world that people consider to be first world. So you see the same, maybe not at the same level, but the point here. So one of the things that, this researcher, Kiriatro, said, cause of stress, required to meet a high level of demand, then feeling unable to meet the demand because they don't have the skills, and then worry that they may lose face among colleagues, supervisors, and so on, because they don't seem to be keeping up. And that brings on another source of stress to teachers. Some other things that were causing stresses and coming out of COVID again, challenges as it relates to challenges in terms of worrying about student learning loss. Some of the challenges of hybrid instruction, if you had to do that. Some of the challenges of remote instruction. Impact on students, you worry that they were maybe having an effect when students, remote instruction, technical difficulty, Wi-Fi not working, all these things bring stress out. And one of the things my teachers told me, that they worked longer hours, just trying to make sure that they would be able to deliver in those times. Some people say the pay isn't strong enough related to the risk, because if you're going to school, you are now facing students who may be bringing in a disease that you may be exposed to, and then wonder if the pay compensates for the risk that you're being exposed to. And then sometimes in some situations, I'm sure some people will agree, inadequate remote material to do the work that you need to do. So these are sources of stress, stressors, as I said, that could have arisen from the pandemic situation. I'm sure you'd be able to give me a lot of others that even aren't listed here. I mentioned the idea that maybe teachers could be suffering after seeing all of what I've just listed over here, and then having to now be ready to teach. Maybe we're going through a post-traumatic stress disorder because of what we have been through. Some of us individually, some people have to be isolated for months and months and not be able to interact with anyone. And then having to know, even come back into that space as we come out of COVID and then perhaps developed habit or even worries or fears about mixing with people again because of their own personal experiences of COVID. And then we have people also who are dealing with loss, personal loss, families, that who passed away during that time. So there's a lot that was happening. So it's important to keep that in mind. It's very important to keep in mind this key idea. And it's this the shift that I want to take, the pivot I want to take as we move into what we do, as we support teachers as we come out of the pandemic. Very important. When teachers thrive, students thrive. If our teachers aren't doing well, then students won't do well. It's just the way it is. Our teachers have to be in the right space, the right place, in the right frame of mind in order to ensure that students are experiencing a high quality learning environment. So anyone who is here in the capacity to think about this, remember, when your teachers thrive, your students thrive. And if teachers are experiencing stress, then they're not thriving. If teachers are worried about things and out of their control, or some things that are in their control, I think they believe it should be in someone else's control, or they don't feel confident that there is social and emotional support for them if and when they do face any challenge, then their students are not going to thrive, or the students will thrive despite, but in most cases, the students will not thrive. Certainly not your most vulnerable students. So it's very important that we keep in mind that when teachers thrive, students also thrive. Talked about social and emotional learning already, but just to bear in mind some of the key aspects of it, there's a piece of this where teachers have to be educated about this kind of mindfulness, because there's an assumption that when you come into teaching, you're good at all of this. And so when we're facing challenges, that's when we realize that maybe even our teachers don't have those skills. No, we're expected to teach those skills to students or children in front of us. But if we don't have the skill, how are we going to model those skills to them in such a way? One key part of that is even self-management. So one questions that I'd like you to think about is what might school leaders do to encourage a mental health friendly workplace? We're talking about having social support. Because as we move forward, this is now a conversation that's put right on the table. It was something that we could have, before the pandemic, everyone knew that teaching was a stressful environment. But people could get on with it because all the teachers before got on with it. And the conversation never got to the point about are people having any form of stress? Because the assumption was, this is how teaching was. You always had to have stress. And so if someone complains too much, then people might say, calm down, it's teaching. But now coming out of COVID, people are realizing there's a real common experience that we all had that we can always acknowledge. We cannot dismiss how that might have affected all of us. So as we're moving forward, we need to get to that place now where our workplace is a mental health friendly workplace, where people don't feel ashamed to say, I'm not feeling okay today. I'm feeling a little bit challenged today. This is something that I need a moment to get through. So one of the things that we can do as both as school administrators and school and colleagues, we need to check in with colleagues regularly. We need to check in with them and say, how are you doing? Can't assume that everyone's okay. We need to physically make an effort to check in with people. Ourselves, we need to be positive role models. As school leaders, if you're a school leader, be a positive role model. In terms of role modeling positivity in that sense. I mean, in that sense, to say, try and be positive. Encourage people to talk about their feelings. Because one thing I can certainly attest to, I spend most of my working life in Jamaica. It's a thing that we don't really talk about how we feel. We don't tell people how we feel, because we feel them going to take it and throw it back in our face. That is the mindset. But we do need to talk with people, or sometimes just be there to hear what people are doing. But just even encourage people to talk about their feelings and be willing to recognize and acknowledge that these feelings might be genuine is an important piece of having that mental health friendly workplace. Provide resources and information on the available support for people. So something that can be done both locally in terms of school itself or centrally through different networks. Provide opportunities for engagement in coping sessions. One day in my school, I remember just recently, a teacher said she has a 10-minute session in her room during break time. Anyone who wants to come and sit with her, and they will go through this 10-minute session where they just listen to raindrops or whatever it is and just cope a little bit, relax a little bit. So we need to provide those opportunities when we can. Promote physical health, and I talked about having fitness as a major part of school, not just for students, but also for teachers. There are many people across the world, sometimes there are many things we can do to promote physical health, maybe a lot more, be patient and understanding. School leaders certainly can do a lot more to encourage a mental health workplace by being patient and understanding. And also talk about it. We make it seem like if someone said they're feeling stressed, they must now be ignored. They must feel bad about it. We must say they're mad, something wrong with them. This person here that take them. But we need to be able to allow people to feel safe enough to share how they're feeling so that they can and you can allow that, so they can feel supported as they go through. And then share, where mental health skill can be applied. Certainly in staff meeting, certainly when we have examples, we can use those to say, hey, here's an example of how we can apply those mental health skills. We need to have a mental health friendly workplace if we're moving forward. So we're building up emotional resilience. That is the key here. Resilience is one of those state. It's important for emotional, psychological, social well-being. It's important for your ability to learn and perform. If you don't have resilience, you're not going to move forward. It's something that, but now with the pandemic, you kind of get lost. Am I affected by this? What might be observable examples of colleagues or yourself showing resilience in the workplace? But the kind of things you'd see when your colleagues are showing, when they're showing resilience in the workplace in terms of working through challenges. What are the kind of things that we'd expect to see? What would be observable, from your colleagues as they show resilience in the workplace? Another nice poster I find when they look at different ways in which people can show resilience, goal setting with realistic expectations. Realistic is big. Sometimes we set goals, but they're not realistic. Learning from mistake, understanding and accepting of their own strengths and weakness, self-control. There's a lot here. Talking about how we can demonstrate that resilience. So imagine if we are demonstrating and modeling this kind of resilience, or you're in a space that allows you to learn from your mistakes, then we're building up what our students are also experiencing this as they watch what you're doing. I want to keep that in mind, the idea of resilience as something that we want to get better. And I mentioned the mental health friendly workplace as a practical way in which we can support socially and emotionally our early child practitioners in the workplace. And talking about resilience and building that in, even in conversations as we meet as a team, learning team, just focusing on that might be something that schools can do to support each other. Because people can get stressed if they're in a problem that they can't solve, they feel alone. So we have to make sure that we build up that resilience in our colleagues. Thinking ahead, I'm looking at, I was on the website looking at the Early Child Commission, and something that came to mind, I noticed that it spoke about in keeping the strategic goal of the government of Jamaica to improve the quality of early child care, education and development within the early child sector. I don't know if this completes the entire idea, but what I certainly feel missing is also a reference to supporting teachers to allow this to happen, providing that emotional and social support. There has to be a part of that, improving how teachers are supported in order to do this. And I know that there's an assumption that teachers are always there, but when the government can say that part of the project includes supporting teachers to develop this, to do this, it ensures that the success is almost, as I said, when teachers thrive, our students thrive. So I'll share a little story. I know it's early childhood, and I want to share the story that I came across. And I'll just read through it a little bit, just to give you an idea what I mean about what we can do. And I'll maybe be closing shortly as I go through this story. So everybody might know about Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is an interesting story, a character, very reflective, has some nuggets of information, really all about wellness and about well-being. And even though these are stories aimed at children, there's always a message in them about how we can take care of ourselves or take care of each other. And I found the story is one that I thought I would share with you just as a way of sharing how we can support each other. So today was a difficult day, said Pooh. There was a pause. Do you want to talk about it? Asked Piglet. That's Piglet. No, said Pooh, after a bit. No, I don't think I do. That's okay, said Piglet. And he came and sat beside his friend. What are you doing? Asked Pooh. Nothing really, said Piglet. Only I know what difficult days are like. Quite often, you don't feel like talking about it. And I don't feel like talking about it on my difficult days either. But goodness, continued Piglet, difficult days are so much easier when you know you've got someone there for you. And I'll always be here for you, Pooh. And as Pooh sat there, working through in his head his difficult day, with a solid, reliable Piglet sat next to him, quietly swinging his little legs, he thought that his best friend had never been more right. Sometimes people don't always need to give advice. Sometimes all they really need is a hand to hold, an ear to listen, and a heart to understand them. Sometimes as leaders, we say, teachers, you need to hear. Teachers, we tell them, oh, you got this. We can do it, we can do it, we can do it. Teachers do not need to hear you got this. We need to hear when you do not have this, here are tangible ways we will support you. You know, it's all about, yeah, we'll do it. But sometimes teachers need to hear, if it didn't work out, my friend, here's how I will support you. I mentioned mental health to be so normalized that employees in a workplace don't have to make excuses to take time off when suffering through that. And so I want to leave on this piece and with the story that I just shared, you know, and this particular piece about self-care. At the end of the day, we have to know what we need in order to be effective in our role. And as we look at the emergence from the pandemic, one of the things that teachers are notoriously known for is not to take care of themselves first, meaning they don't put on their oxygen mask first. They try to put it onto other people to help them to survive and then say, maybe it will work out for me. Self-care is not selfish. It's very important that teachers think about their mental, emotional, and social well-being all the time and be in a situation where they can speak about it and people will listen and understand and support. Self-care is important as part of professional development. When you're practicing self-care, you're also developing yourself in a professional way. Because as I said, if you're not thriving, your students aren't thriving. So it is very important to keep that in mind. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is professional development. And just remember, sometimes all we need to do, sometimes we don't have to say a word. We just need to let people know that we're there for them. All right, with that in mind, I want to close and thank everyone for being here and hope that has helped you to think about social and emotional support during and after the pandemic. I'm turning back to the moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Barker. Now, practitioners, you would have learned to not just remove your literal mask, but also the metaphorical mask that we often wear. And self-care, we have to first take care of ourselves because we can only thrive when our students thrive. So practitioners, I implore you to utilize the communities available to you and the list of support and activities mentioned by Dr. Barker. At this time, we want to thank Dr. Barker for his time and expertise on such an important and relevant issue to better support our practitioners as we support our children. Thank you also to our participants for joining us. And at this time, we will take a break and then we will return with a plenary session.
The declaration of 2022 being the year of early childhood development in Jamaica speaks volumes to the intended commitment of our country to realizing our development goal of quality education for everyone, especially our youngest learners. The Burrito Foundation fully supports this objective, and I greet you well on behalf of the entire Burrito Cornerstone family. We are pleased to support this year's Professional Development Institute week of activities, and in fact, the ECC's wider work throughout the year. Our firm resolve is that our children's education is everybody's business. The Burrito Foundation has a history of actively supporting the development of our children since 2004. Our numeracy and literacy program in early childhood institutions across Kingston and St. Andrew, established by our founder, Mrs. Rita Humphreys-Lewin, have seen thousands of children being adequately prepared to advance to the primary levels of their education. Therefore, it was not only an absolute pleasure, but also a further signal of our commitment in supporting our children that we became involved in the ECC's 2022 Professional Development Institute, in addition to our contribution of $2 million towards raising the standard within ECIs across the island in order that they may receive certification and enhance their capacity to serve our children. Burrito Foundation supports the ECC's efforts at accomplishing a positive process of change within the nation's early childhood development. We look forward to the gains that will be made as teachers expand their knowledge, enhance teaching practices, and we see better results and more positive outcomes for our children. The pandemic has taught us that we must adapt continuously and build capacity as we seek to close gaps and also prepare our future leaders for success. I urge everyone to come on board and be a part of this rebuilding and reinventing of our early childhood sector. We look forward to increased resourcing of our schools and greater accountability among those charged with responsibility for our children. In the meantime, active participation in this week's PDI is one way to reach teachers, parents, and other critical stakeholders in early childhood development. I wish for everyone a productive and meaningful week, and may we all together be empowered to do right by our children in their earliest, most fundamental stage of development. Thank you.
Next Gen Learning Solutions has created some awesome sequencing kits for kindergarten to grade 3. 4 kits for children ages 4+, 6+, 7+, and 8+, with 8 story sets with 6 cards per set for students 4+, and 6+, and 8 story sets with 8 cards per set for students 7+, and 8+. The package also includes cool, durable write and wipe cards that can be used multiple times, a teacher's guide with suggestions to support individual, cooperative, and collaborative learning, creatively and colorfully designed to develop critical skills such as picture sequencing, sentence sequencing, communication skills, problem solving, comprehension skills, critical thinking such as predicting, inferencing, cause and effect, comparing and contrasting, and much more. The stories are Caribbean-based that are linked to the curriculum guide. There are 2 blank cards in each set for story extension. Help students develop a sense of story with a complete kit designed to develop storytelling, story writing, and story sequencing skills. Next Gen Sequencing Kits by Next Gen Learning Solutions.
Cheetah, in collaboration with the Early Childhood Commission of Jamaica, presents the Little Jamaicans Academy for Future Leaders. Brand new early childhood learning kits with books, songs, puzzles, card games, educational toys, posters, puppets, electronic devices, and more. The future is here. The future is now. The future is our children. Learn more at mycheetahinc.com. Cheetah, creating future leaders.
This is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Do you have a child between 0 to 2 years of age? If yes, you need to download the ECC's First 1000 Days app. It allows you to receive parenting tips, track developmental milestones, learn about the Brain Builder concept, receive relevant articles and research, plus interactive content. The First 1000 Days app, now available for download on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, now, so before I go into anything, I just want to look a jig thing. All right, so I sat there and I was like, how am I going to do this introduction? How am I going to talk about PDI? Now, I came up with a little thing. We may know the song, but I added a little word or added some words and just took out some. All right, so it goes like this. We are together again at PDI. We are together again at the closing ceremony. I said something good is about to happen. Something good is in store. We are together again at PDI. One more time. We are together again at PDI. We are together again at the closing ceremony. I said something good is about to happen. Something good is in store. We are together again at PDI. I hope you were jigging and moving around in your little spaces. Now, my name is Stacey Campbell Cargill, and I will be your facilitator for this plenary session. Now, let us get straight to it, all right? Let me introduce our panelists, our moderator. Let's get straight to it. All right, here we go. We have Mrs. Winsome Shera Whittle. Is the founder of Serenity Advisory Consulting Services, a business nurturing, life-transforming brand. Best known for her composed, serene spirit and her ability to help others navigate uncharted waters. Winsome helps her clients to navigate life challenges and business formalization process with ease. Winsome has a heart for service, growth, and development. She is the host of the Serenity Resource Connector, a virtual public education program which she conceptualized, a justice of the peace, an active member of her church community, and a two-time community service awardee, having served in leadership capacities for business associations and on various committees in the areas of community, cultural, and economical development. Her career began in retail banking, where she served for over a decade in various capacities. before making the transition to serve for 10 years as Chief Operating Officer for the community-based subscriber cable television system. Winsome has a Bachelor of Science degree in Management Studies with honors from the University of the West Indies and a Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Liverpool, with a focus on leadership, entrepreneurship, and service marketing. Now, welcome, Mrs. Whitton. She'll be our moderator for the plenary session. But let me introduce to you the panelists, or able panelists that will be with us today to discuss a lovely and strong topic, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So stay tuned. Let me go ahead. Miss Wanda Rod was born in Spalding, Manchester, Jamaica. She studied early child care and development at Chiswick College, London, England, and the Carmel Institute, Haifa, Israel. Miss Rod established and operated the Children's Service Center, since 1987 to present. She's also a part-time instructor in early child care and education at Stony Hill and Garmick's Heart Academy, a wife and mother of one daughter, the chair of the outreach ministry at Meadowbrook United Church, and is an avid gardener. Next, Yanita Murray Smith has been an early child practitioner for the past 22 years. She served in the coolies of Bamboo St. Anne at Bamboo Basic School in the capacity of diploma-trained teacher and class teacher before becoming the present principal. She's a graduate of Shortwood Teachers College and the University of the West Indies with a Bachelor of Education in Language Education, Literacy Studies, Certificate in Supervisory Management, and the Management of Early Child Education Institutions. Mrs. Smith's personal philosophy is that every child is a diamond in the rough that can sparkle if polished correctly. Miss Charisse Burgess hails from the beautiful parish of Portland. She is a proud graduate of CASE and IUC. She is a passionate and dedicated educator who goes by the mantra, "For God will not take me to any water and not help me cross it." She has held many titles, but she stands firm by saying that the greatest title for her is to be called a mother. Oh, Miss Julian McGregor Williams. Mrs. Julian McGregor Williams has been an educator for the past 27 years. She holds a diploma from Bethlehem Teachers College, a bachelor's degree from Northern Caribbean University, and a master's degree in special education from the Micah University College. Her illustrious career began at Porus Infant School in Manchester, where she served as classroom teacher, senior teacher, and later principal. In May 2018, Mrs. McGregor Williams was appointed principal at Mandeville Infant School. She worked assiduously with her staff, and in December 2018, the school was certified by the Early Childhood Commission, making it the first government-owned early child institution in Manchester to be certified. Mrs. McGregor Williams is a Justice of the Peace and has been serving her community and, by extension, Jamaica in whatever way she can. Last, but certainly not least, Ms. Tanya Gibson has been an educator for the past 20 years. Ms. Gibson holds a Master in Early Childhood from the University of South Florida. She has taught at the early childhood, primary, and tertiary level. Ms. Gibson is the current head at the Michael Early Childhood Education Center, which is located at the Michael University College, where she also lectures. Ms. Gibson also works with the Heart NSTA training programs that educates practitioners in the early childhood field. Now I have said it. I have read it. Now it's time for you to listen in to these panelists, to the moderator, while they ably go through the topic, importance of PDI for teachers towards better outcomes for children. So look here, nobody go sit down there in your room and go on like you're not listening, Listening because Early Child Commission, I take it to no, and I take it to no great, and I take it to no strong, because we say PDI 2022. So at this time, I'll turn over to our moderator, Mrs. Winsome Shearer Witter.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I trust that I can keep the pace going. That's been an awesome, awesome, awesome introduction. When I shared with some grade 6 students earlier this week that I spent over a decade in banking and then another 10 years elsewhere, they're like, Miss, you're old. Children are just the sweetest. Thank you so much for this awesome opportunity to be a part of PDI 2022. Looking forward to a really robust discussion with this dynamic group of early childhood leaders. Amazing stuff. And we heard on the program last evening that it has been an exciting week where the parents have been learning, and even those who were supposed to be presenting, they were able to learn as well from the different sessions. And I am sure that our leaders, because I tuned in earlier to hear the final session, and the gems that were being dished out was just simply amazing. All right, so I know that our viewers are tuned in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you know of others who should be on this session, go ahead and share that YouTube link to make sure that they're part of what's going on, so you can share your feedback, ask your questions, so we can go back out fully equipped and ready to take on and to lend support wherever support is needed. Continued kudos going out to Team ECC. Let's get into the discussion. Quite a bit to go through, so let's get on with it. Because we've been hearing about inclusivity quite a bit lately, and it's timely too, because children do not all learn at the same pace. We don't all learn at the same pace as adults. And so we have to be equipped to deal with all the different learning abilities so that we can engage all our early childhood students. So with that said, let's get the conversation rolling by sharing some of the traits, skills, or qualities early childhood practitioners should have in order to successfully teach all our children. Let me see, who am I going to get started? Mrs. McGregor Williams, you are first in view. Let's hear from you. What are some of the traits, skills, qualities early childhood practitioners should have in order to successfully teach all children, not just some, but all of them?
Good morning again, everyone. It's good to be here. Well, early childhood practitioners should be patient and tolerant. Patience is very important. We know we have our little ones. They are curious and they are all about, they want to learn. And so they will do things at times, and we can get impatient because we are humans, but we have to learn how to be patient. They will exhibit particular behaviors that are not acceptable, but we will have to teach them what is right and what is wrong. As a practitioner, we have to be reflective, know what you're doing, and how is it that you are going to get better at what you're doing. Reflect on what was done and the way forward. How can you improve and make things better? In addition, be open to new ideas and concepts and be willing to try them in the classroom with your students. They ought to be aware of the different stages of development and the different benchmark that exists for each developmental milestone. This will help us greatly in catering for our children. And where there is need for concern, you will tap in and intervention can be done. Be willing to create. We have to be willing to create a dynamic and exciting classroom space with fun and activities. We know that our children, they love when you're all into it. And whatever you do, the children will follow. You are having fun and they are having fun also. So ECI practitioners should be aware of the students that they teach. We know that the students, they are different kind of learners. So you have to cater and tap into your creativity and cater for these students. The aim is really to teach the child and not the curriculum. We cannot overlook that a practitioner should have the passion for teaching. What sense does it make? You're in the profession, you're there, and it is just going to school and you're going to just teach and go home. You have to love it. You have to have that passion. And once the passion is there, it makes it easier for you. We have to love the children. We will find that you have a number of children coming into your environment, the classrooms, different personalities, and so you have to love and care for all of them.
Wow.
As a practitioner too, you have to be flexible, because some days you will go to school and your lesson plan is well written and it's so in order. Everything, you would have your resources in place and everything is in order. But something happened. You have to be flexible and you have to change. Sometimes there are teachable moments and you have to just put away the lesson plan and deal with that as it comes up. Creativity. You have to be creative as an early childhood practitioner. Some of the skills in child care, child development, lesson planning, CPR, special education, creating that environment, customer service. We're offering a service, you know.
Indeed.
And sometimes when our parents get to the institution, the services that are offered, you as the person offering the service, it's not so good, you know. So parents will want to turn back. You have to hone your skill in good customer service. And I could go on and on, but I will allow my colleagues to help me on this one.
Awesome. All right. So Tanya Gibson.
She has covered quite a lot.
Yes.
I have poor connectivity, so my video quality is not so excellent. But I do hope you can hear me clearly.
We're seeing and hearing you. Right.
Wonderful.
So just add a couple more things that she has
just
added.
to add one more thing, or to sum up what she just said.
Right.
One of the major qualities that we need to have as early childhood practitioners is that of being lifelong learners. Have that drive for self-improvement. Have that drive to learn new technologies, new techniques, new methodologies. Have that. Be constant in that. Because that is what is going to make the entire teaching learning experience an exciting and new one. It gives you that push to get up and to go each day because you have learned something new. There's some method that you want to test and to try to see how effective it can be, how many more students you can reach more than the ones you have already touched so far. So just to sum that up, we need to be lifelong learners.
Lifelong learners, love that. And I'm glad you shared that because one of the presenters from out of the Bahamas did share that she has learned a lot from PDI 2022 that she's taking back to implement over there in Bahamas. So we need to ensure that we do that right here in Jamaica. That's where it starts, right? All right, so let's hear from Tanya Gibson. Do you have anything else to add? I know that Mrs. Morris Smith and Mrs. McGregor Williams would have shared quite a bit. Anything else to add?
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
One of the points that really struck with me was understanding the children that we teach. We must be able to empathize with our parents and the children. If we are not able to understand where our parents are coming from, then when the children come into our classrooms, then we might have a problem. because a child might come in and you see that child smiling, but you might not know what is happening at home. So we have to be able to empathize and reach our children at the level where they are and then bring them up. So that's a skill that we must as teachers practice, build, and put in place each day, that empathy, that able to relate to our children, relate to our parents. Just as Miss McGregor-Williams said, talk to the parents at their level. So we get them to understand what we are doing and what they can do to make both of our situations, our classrooms, our children, our teaching situations, that much better.
Fantastic. Well said. Well said. Wonder Rod, we're not leaving you out. Anything to contribute to this aspect of the discussion?
I totally agree with all that Mrs. Williams. One of the great things that I always try to think about is the passion for the practitioners, really to have that passion to really like the children. I like to say like the children rather than love. You really must like the children, have a genuine likeness for them. The other thing too is the parents, how we get parents involved. Because without the parents, we don't have a program. Without their contribution, without their support, we will not be as successful. So we always have to be very mindful. Practitioners have to be mindful of that involvement and the kinds of interaction that we have with parents. But I totally agree with all that has been said so far.
Indeed, right. Practitioners need to partner with the parents because it's actually a partnership in nurturing these young ones. Because if we don't do that, whatever you teach them in the school might be eroded when they get home, and vice versa. So it has to be a partnership where we're on the same page for consistency, right? Who else do we have? Carol Williams? Are you with us? I know we've covered a lot.
That's the interpreter.
Interpreter.
Carol Williams, interpreter.
All right, fantastic. You see what we're talking about, inclusivity.
Yes.
All right, amazing stuff. Thank you so much, ladies. Really awesome stuff that you have shared there. I trust that I'm not leaving out. I'm not seeing the other participant just now, but please jump in if you come on. All right. So let's move on. How does the PDI contribute to the development of these skills? Professional Development Institute. So let's hear how PDI 2022 would have helped in that regard. So we are going to start where we left off. Ms. Rod, let's get started with you this time.
Okay, I think the PDI is really very critical to enhancing what practitioners already know, and in terms of broadening and widening their knowledge base. The sessions that most of the sessions were really, really very informative. There's one in particular that I thought was very useful and very timely at this time, where we spoke about children with special needs. And that is something that is timely now. And because we are seeing so many children who are displaying developmental delays, mainly some of it contributed to the COVID-19 restrictions, where children were not allowed to come out of school and so on. But even before then, we were seeing lots of children with developmental delays being diagnosed with autism and so on. So that particular session was I thought, very, very useful in highlighting this. We're seeing it a lot in the early years, mainly the 0 to 3, and I thought that was useful. So all these things that can be highlighted and broaden the knowledge base for practitioners is what this PDI is about, and making a good job, doing a good job of it.
Fantastic, right? That sounds like the objectives have been achieved for PDI 2022. All right, go right ahead and take it.
I am happy that she mentioned that that session, because that was a session that I enjoyed the most, the one with inclusion and transition, because I have noted that the pandemic has affected our little ones very much. And a lot of the children that we are seeing are having delay in terms of their learning. And the other thing I like about the PDI in terms of this contribution to development of these skills as a practitioner is that it's not set, the setting of the PDI is what I love. It gives you several tracks to choose from. And you have a variety of pathways from which you can participate in. It is not just, and there are specific skills that are, you have unique skills that are targeted in each track that you can, as a practitioner, today if you find a session in parenting, you can log on to that. If tomorrow you want something in terms of your leadership skills to develop that, you can log into that. It's not just one set pathway. You have several options from which you can choose from. Yeah. And that is what I like most about the platform, how the platform is set up in terms of your choice as a practitioner. You can look at yourself, look at the areas in which your skills need to be improved, and then choose from the different pathways each day which skills you want to enhance for yourself.
Fantastic. So you can be selective of where you want to focus on. That's very important. Targeted learning. All right. Who else wants to add to the conversation? Just jump in, Tanya Gibson.
Yes, Ms. Witter. For me, I found that based on, I forgot her name, she just spoke. Ms. Witter, not Ms. Witter.
That would have been Maurice Smith.
Yes.
Right. As she said, based on how the tracks are done, we're able to actually pick and choose what catches our fancy, what is going to a key point that we'd like to remember. We're also able to sit back and replay these tracks and listen, picking out what we want. We're also able to link the tracks to different points in our thinking that we say, okay, say I want to learn about management, but I want to link it up with inclusivity. How will I be able to transition my special needs child from my school to the primary level? How will I be able to speak to a parent about this? Based on how the tracks are set up, I can actually be able to say to a parent who might be having this issue, come in, listen to this track and see what you learn from it. And then I can then sit down with this parent and further build her knowledge base while at the same time extending my knowledge on how to deal with the teacher and the children that I am working with. So I'm very happy for this PDI. It has really opened a lot of doors because I have allowed a lot of my parents to actually join the sessions, and comments are coming back in from the parents that they have really enjoyed it. So it has been a very good session.
Amazing. And the topics that are there, the topics are relevant to this time.
Exactly, Ms. Smith. Very much so. And especially for, you raised the point with the children who are having special needs, who are being diagnosed as being autistic, who are having developmental delays. This is so evident, especially for the past term coming, and looking forward, going down, we are going to be seeing more of these children coming into the school system. And as such, as teachers, these PDI sessions are opening our eyes, re-engaging our brains, re-educating us again about things that we think we know, we might know, but refreshing our ideas so that we can look at it at a different point of view and say, okay, what can I do with this child? What should I say to this parent? How can I set my school to involve these children in there? How can I set the class or even modify the curriculum to help these children so that they can achieve a milestone despite that they might be a little bit behind the rest of the class?
And what I liked about that session, one of the presenters, I don't remember her name, said that it is now mandatory as a part of the program at every teaching colleges and learning institutions, where that the practitioners who are in training now, it's a part of the program, and that by the next 3 years going forward, every educator that is graduating from these teacher colleges and institutions will have a vast knowledge of children with special, what to do for children with special needs. And that's the part that I like the most. Because
and it is so important, Miss Smith. It is so important. It is.
Yes, I actually clapped at that because, you know, many of us are hungry for that knowledge when it comes to children with special needs, and knowing that those who are coming out after us will have that knowledge, and not just brief knowledge, but the full knowledge of how to handle children with special needs and to add to the education system that we presently offer in Jamaica.
Amazing. And I'm sure this is just such an exciting and interesting area and relevant area. We could talk about it all morning. And there's a number of comments in the coming from YouTube here emphasizing that. Yes, it's certainly alarming where the number of students who are having challenges with development delays have increased. That's Andrea Blake. Thanks for sharing. And there are many others, and there are a number of participants who are sharing that you can always go to YouTube and replay the sessions that we missed. That is very important. So please be sure to pass that on. So for those who missed it, they are not out of the loop. They still have access to this invaluable information. All right. And I noticed that Cherise Burgess joined us. So we are going to have her lead out on the next question. How relevant is the annual PDI in supporting early childhood practitioners to influence the success of children? Cherise Burgess, you take that one. How relevant is the annual PDI in supporting early childhood practitioners to influence the success of our children?
Good morning.
Great morning. Welcome.
Sorry to be late. I was having a bit of technical difficulties, so I was sorting that out. Can you please repeat the question for me?
Certainly. How relevant is the annual PDI in supporting early childhood practitioners to influence the success of our children?
It is very relevant to us because we get to sharpen our pedagogy skills. We also get to share best practices. We learn also from the insightful presenters that we have. And we try as best as possible to implement them in our own schools.
All right, fantastic. All right, we're going to pause for a moment. There's a question here that I'd love for us before we lose it, because the comments are going so quickly. Someone was asking in terms of what is behind, all right, as soon as we locate that. But while I'm checking for that, let me bring in one of our senior peeps to come in from the ECC team. Andrea Edwards-Brown, could you weigh in on that question, the relevance of the annual PDI in supporting early childhood practitioners to influence the success of our children?
Right. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here as usual. The relevance of the PDI to look at to improve the outcomes of our children. Personally speaking, I think the PDI really informs practice. It allows for collaboration, and it really gives an idea of how it is that we can, build on our prior knowledge to support the outcome of our children. We know what developmental outcomes are. We know what development looks like. But in knowing these things, we see that as the landscape change for early childhood, then the need for us in the classroom as early child practitioners have also changed. So with the PDI being able to bring in persons from across the world to show us how it is that this landscape is changing and the resources that are now becoming available to influence our children's outcome in the classroom, I think it plays a critical role in Jamaica at this time to, empowering our practitioners and also educating them and allowing them to know that collaboration and teamwork is really necessary if we really want to impact the future of our country as a nation.
Well said, well said. Right, and I have located that question, very important one. What is being delayed? Is it the content, curriculum or child's learning? And Tavina Brown, you want to lead off on that one? Janet Holness is asking, what is being delayed? What is being delayed? Is it the content, curriculum, or child's learning?
I would say all of the above.
Okay.
It's really the children's development that is being delayed. Because when you think about the curriculum and what it entails, at this stage, we are talking about developing skills in our children. So even when you look at the content of the curriculum, we can sometimes give that a break and work on those skills, because if the skill sets are developed, then at some point in time, the child is now able to, catch up on the content, because some contents, depending on the ability of the child, and they're able to. But personally speaking, I would say it is the developmental outcomes, it's the skills of the children that are being delayed, and we want to really work on, developing those skills so our children are able to know access to the curriculum material and so on, if the skill sets are there for them to interact and, explore and touch and go and so on. So I'm responding on behalf of my colleague, Miss Brown. Her mic is giving some trouble.
I would teamwork at Team ECC.
Yes.
Go ahead,
I
Ms.
would love
Rod.
to jump in there too, and to just reinforce that it is, in most cases, developmental delay. There's delay in speech, self-help skills are delayed, and the general social skills. And these, I think, we have to tackle before we even start to look at the curriculum, as it were, what the children are supposed to be doing. We need to look at their milestones, where they are. Have they achieved those milestones? Is there need for intervention? Is there need for assessment? So I think it's developmental delays that we need to be aware of at the outset.
Yes, Ms. Rod.
And I would like to jump in when you're finished.
I'm finished. Go right ahead.
All right.
I would say developmental delay.
This panelist, go ahead.
Yes, I would say developmental delay too, and we cannot not say COVID as not cause that gap to be wider. It is wider, and as practitioners, we face that on a daily basis. The developmental delays, the milestones that the students are supposed to reach, certain things that they're supposed to be doing at a certain age, it is not. So I would say developmental delay too.
Fantastic. And I trust that you realize that ties in perfectly with the question that we're on in terms of the relevance of the annual PDI in supporting this, because I'm sure you would have learned a lot of tips and strategies and all of that to address these kinds of developmental challenges.
And there's
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially in the light of everything that has gone on, over the past 2 years, we have seen the delays in speech, language, social skills, fine motor movement, gross motor movements, basically everything that the child should be ready to come to school with. However, because of these delays, we are seeing children who are really not ready. And what this PDI has done, apart from re-educating the teachers about the different strategies and methods that they can use to get the children back on track, to say, we also can get the parents listening to these tracks, so that at the same time, we the teachers can be teaching the parents what they can do or should be doing at home, so that we can be helping them out to build the success of the children. Because at all times, we have to remember that it's not only us, the teachers, are in this. It is also the parents. So when we have finished with the PDI and we have learned everything that we have to then go back to our parents and say, come into a session this morning, spend 30 minutes with me. I'm going to show you something that I learned. Let us watch it together and discuss it and see where you think your child might be having a problem. And what we, not you the teacher, not you the parent, we, the parent, the teacher, the school, can do together to help these children that we have, to build the steps, to put the things in motion, to make sure that as they move along the step, each level is built, it's set in concrete, it can't shake. We don't want anything shaky going on here. We want them firm, so that as we build them and move them from level to level, the concepts are ingrained, the skills are ingrained, and then that is when we'll be able to actually be, hopefully, being seen less children being classified or being diagnosed as being delayed.
Well said, well said. And that is a great point on which to shift gear into the next question. What are your opinions of the present early childhood teaching force, and how the PDI can be improved to better support the early childhood practitioners?
As a teacher,
continue on the spot.
Yes, as a teacher, as a department head, as a lecturer to persons who are being trained for the early childhood field, as a facilitator at heart, I have found out that most of these students are passionate about the field that they're coming into. And as such, they do bring their passion to the classroom, to the lessons that they deliver. At the same time, we want to ensure that the force keeps that energy. And I must say that the boards, the board leaders, the principals, the grade coordinators, the supervisors, they are putting in the work. And as a result, the early childhood force that we now have is active. They are vibrant. They are vivacious. They are knowledgeable. They are resourceful. They are flexible. They have the creativity down. Their imagination is just going. They are finding ways and means to get to the children, to get them moving along with them. Their speech is going. They have improved their classroom setting. They have created a print-rich environment, a toy-rich environment. They are actually approaching 100% full capacity when it comes to being an early childhood trained teacher. And based on this PDI, we are getting there. Based on the interaction from the teachers, we are getting there. Based on comments, feedback, we are getting there. And as such, I do think that if I was to grade our ECI teaching force, I'd be giving you 95%. We do have room for improvement still.
All right. And you appear to be a very strict marker when it comes down to assigning percentage. So they're doing great with 95%, right?
Yes. You always have room for growth.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And that's what PDI is there for, right? Because you always have to be keeping a pace. And someone mentioned earlier that the children actually helps us to grow, to develop as well, because they do ask some questions.
And we mustn't take it for granted that because we learned something today, it stays with us. What we learn today might slip out tomorrow. So we have to, as somebody mentioned earlier, we are lifelong learners. We learn every day. We learn from the children. We learn from our co-workers. We learn from the parents. We learn from everything around us. And what we need to do is to ensure that whatever we learn, we incorporate it into our teaching learning environment so that both ourselves and our children benefit from this knowledge.
Amazing. And you mentioned something very important earlier in terms of the different levels of leadership, from your board to the practitioners, teachers, parents, and everyone being on board. It has to be all hands on.
This is most important. That is most important. If your board is not working with you, if your supervisors aren't working with you, if your parents aren't working, and yes, teachers can say, we know we do have some parents that fight back against us. If everybody is not rowing in the same boat, then what is going to happen to the boat? We're going to stop. We're going to spin around in a circle. So everybody has to be on the same path, on the same bus, on the same boat. We have to be heading in the same direction to ensure that it is what we want. What the results are, what we want. It is what we expect. So the board, the bosses, the leaders, the supervisors, they have to then find the resources to put in, the materials to put in, to ensure that the teachers have the material to then work with the children, so that when the parents come in, they say, wow, look at this room. Oh my, look at what Miss did. Because it doesn't take a whole lot to make the children learn. It takes just a little bit and they're good to go. So the teacher who is able to get in a setting where the material is provided, they are on the way. Once the board is on track, the teacher's on track, the parents are on track, the teacher is the best thing that you have in place.
Amazing. Growing together. All right. Such dynamic discussion, and of course the comments are rolling. Excellent point. Excellent. All right, and there are a number of questions. I've captured them, so we're going to take your questions later. But let's get a couple more persons weighing in on this question about your opinion as it relates to where we are as early childhood teaching force and how PDI can improve in terms of supporting at that level. Ms. Rod, you want to?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. It's good to hear from Tanya that there is, a high level of passion for teachers who are in training. My concern and my major concern really has always been and will be for the 0 to 3. I do believe perhaps there could be some more focus on this age group in terms of the teaching force. The persons who are working with this age group, we generally find are quite motivated and interested and so on. But somehow they tend to feel a little bit left behind. They are not feeling so very good as a part of the larger team. They feel that, oh, these are just babies, so it is really not important. So my concern has always been to highlight this area some more, because I do believe that if you're working with babies and young children, this is where it starts. And these children have to get a good start in order for them to get to 4, to be doing what is needed in the classroom and so on. If the stimulation, if the foundation is not as solid as it needs to be, then I think further up the line we will have some issues. So my concern or my wish would be that perhaps some more focus could be placed on this age group. I know a session where there was discussion about the younger children, but I would really like to see some more focus, some intentional expressions for the 0 to 3 age group.
All right. And I'm going to ask Andrea Edwards-Brown to weigh in again on that point, because, I call those the sponge year, because they learn so much more than we could even imagine between 0 to 3. Andrea, based on what was shared earlier, let's hear from
thank you.
Yes.
So I have to agree with Mrs. Rada. We need to, up the what I want to say, confidence level of our 0 to 3 practitioners. We want to up their skill set also to see some of those more back and forth interactions. Another need that I have for that specific age group is observation and documentation, because that informs practice and processes. Yes. If we don't observe and document, we cannot act. And that is the reason why we're having this PDI now, because persons would have been in practice and they would have observed certain things, and they're here to share those best practices with us. So for the 0 to 3 age group, I have to agree with Mrs. Rob, because when I go out in the field, I would have observed that. And the passion for the 0 to 3 age group is not as much as the passion for the 4 to 5, because they can respond quicker, they can interact faster. So we need to have that, I want to say, that built-in charisma then for our babies, so we can mold them, we can stimulate them at an early age to move into, the 4 and 5-year-old classroom. And when they get to those teachers, they will be ready for that type of interaction. However, what we're doing now at the Early Child Commission is that we now have the 0 to 3 program. It's a comprehensive course, and we ourselves at the Commission, we offer that course to the practitioners in the field. So we do that every Thursday, and we teach them how to deal with the child from in utero until they get to 3 years, so how to interact, what are developmental expectations, and so on. And also, we now have the Brain Builder program. And as development officers and inspector, we try to get into those institutions and, assist teachers in how to interact with how to interact with the babies, the setup of the space, and really let them know that what they're doing is critical because the foundation is there. We talk about brain development and synapses and connections and all of that taking place at 0 to 3. So we have to let them know, listen, you have a lot of work to do. You have a heavy weight to carry, you have to push a lot of load. So we're asking you to just, own your skills and be confident about where you are and know that you're building them from the ground, from the grassroots. You're literally the foundation. So if you don't dig it out good, it's not going to stand up at all. So we're just encouraging our 0 to 3 practitioners to get in there, own your skills, document, record, and, encourage those meaningful back and forth interaction. Don't just remove the diapers, but have a conversation. Mary, I observed that you're wet today and I'm going to change your diaper. This time I'm taking your diaper from the bag. How are you feeling about that? I'm going to use some wipes on your bottom. It's a little bit cold and so on. I will just moving into those interaction with our children, and right there and then we see language, we see socialization, we see response to stimuli and all of that taking place. But we just want them to be confident in that skill set and know that they are the foundation as our ECPs at the 0 to 3 level. Thank you.
Well said. And Brandy Aronson is agreeing with you that the Brain Builders Center is helping to address this gap, albeit the Brain Builders relatively young and strength growing, right? The first 1,000 days up as well. Some sharing here, right, which is great. And I don't know about you, I would
like to say something.
Right, I'm going to allow you just quickly.
Okay.
The 0 to 3 years old, when engaging with them, there's just something special about describing. All right, I'm going to put this green shirt on you. This color is green. You'll be surprised how much they are soaking in, and I'm going to turn on this black fan and you're describing what's around them in the environment. They are picking up. All right, go ahead and share.
Mrs. Brown, valid points you made about the practitioner, but I would also love for the caregivers to be trained to really interact with the children in this manner too, because they are not only there for bathroom visits and stuff like that or to wash the hands, they are there as a facilitator to help the teacher to bridge this gap that they have and to also provide educational support for the 0 to 3 age group.
Right, we go back to the whole matter of all hands on deck, ensuring that everyone, because once you're engaging, regardless of your title, you really, it's the standard, and I love the whole standard matters tagline there.
May I just add a little bit there?
Certainly, Ms. Hudson.
All right, so I've listened to the previous two panelists, and especially the part that spoke about that interaction with the 0 to 3 year old is not just to change their diaper and so forth. The observation I've also made that the practitioners and the caregivers have to be able to flex a lot and don't take anything personal. There was a situation where the teacher and the caregiver, they were just about to have lunch at my institution. And this little 3-year-old came up and said to one of them, I know you are about to eat, but you can't eat now because I need to go to the bathroom. And so the teacher just said, okay, put away her meal, went and dealt with her. And then he came back and he said, no, you can go and eat. So the practitioner and the caregiver really have to flex. Don't take anything personal. And somebody said earlier about the like, not so much love, but like. You have to like what you do, and you have to care for these children.
That's well said, because they communicate in a very innocent way. They don't mean anything by it. That's just their way of expressing themselves. So we just have to and guide them along the way because it's a part of the learning process to get things moving. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a lot more to get through with so little time. So we're going to get right into the next question.
Just before you move, can I say something quickly?
Sure, go ahead.
There's also a need for the expansion of the Brain Builders program, because what I realized is that parents are getting on board, and they're actually seeking out now, not just what they care, but they are seeking out for the institutions that have the Brain Builders program.
That's awesome. And so we're going to have to seek some additional support for that to ensure the expansion continues. Thanks for that contribution. Right? So let's get into the meat now. As leaders in your school, how do you support your teachers? Well, we haven't been hearing much from McGregor Williams. All right, let's lead out on that one. Gillian McGregor Williams.
Yes. Within our institutions, you know, when we have a principal that is very supportive, it makes a difference. And being a teacher longer than I have been a principal, you know and understand that when your principal is there as a support system for you, it makes your job easier. And in giving support, you have to make yourself available. Some principals are not available, and sometimes it can be overwhelming in the capacity as a principal, and you will have a lot of things to do, but you have to ensure that you're available. If it is that you have an open door policy at what time your teachers come, and then sometimes you have to just go and, you know, meet with your teachers. Get away from your office sometimes, meet in the staff room, sit and have a conversation. You have to ensure that support is given personally and in areas where they are working. So support in terms of providing or helping as much as possible to get the resources that they need to make things easier for them. If it is that you have to call the Early Childhood Commission every week so they get to know you and you're at them asking for help, you need the help to give to your staff. Sometimes our staff members have, you know, issues. You have a personal relationship with each member of staff, and in that relationship you have to give the support. Support is it that they are going to improve where education is concerned. Training, you want to provide the support. They're going to college. What support can you give to them? You have to, well, principals don't have maybe money to give, but you can assist. Any assignments, you know, you can assist where that is concerned. Having evaluation. Evaluate your teachers, make it meaningful. You don't want to do an evaluation and then it is to tear down your staff. So you're giving the support. How is it that you're going to improve? You would have identified the strengths and weaknesses. You want your staff to understand that this aspect of teaching and learning was not so good. What are you going to do? What strategies can you use to improve where that is concerned? And you want to provide the support also. You want to ensure that you don't cause any burnout. You know, you have to delegate. You have to share responsibilities. So right across the board, where your team members are concerned, you're going to come together and work as a team. In addition, you have to listen to your staff. They have a lot to say. And even though you as the leader, you make some critical decisions, it is very important to get the feedback of your staff member.
Indeed. And you just described some of the key tenets of leadership right? Because we're really supposed to be empowering our people so that it lessens the burden, so you get to really lead it. Because it's not supposed to be micromanaging, right? All right, amazing. Well said. All right, quickly, Wonder Rod, we are tying it all in. Give us a specific in terms of how you have supported your teachers.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay.
I try to assist with self-development. Again, mainly with the members of staff who are working with the younger children. So I find they have to get the little push to go and do the extra course or to upgrade and so on, because sometimes they are quite comfortable where they are. So that kind of encouragement I have to often give, and quite a lot. I try to share any seminars, webinars, conferences that may be available, especially online. Now it becomes a lot easier because, you know, they don't have to physically go out. So that kind of information. So the main thing I try to do is to push self-improvement and how they can better themselves in order to be better teachers, practitioners for the children.
Fantastic. All right, we are going to keep rolling. Yanita Murray-Smith, what are some of the supports and systems needed to drive teaching quality that will result in improved outcomes for our children?
Could you repeat that for me, please? I just lost a bit of sound a while ago.
Okay, what are some of the supports and systems you believe is required to drive teaching quality that will result in improved outcomes for our children? It sounds like, are you hearing me now?
I'm having some difficulties. Not quite hearing because I'm having internet connection problems from morning. You might have to just move to the next person.
All right. Tanya Gibson, want to take that one?
Yes, miss. One of the things that I have done is that we have in-staff discussions. So instead of having a teacher, I know a teacher might have a weakness. So instead of just speaking to that teacher by myself, the staff literally sits and then we identify what is the weakness, and then we share with each other what ways that we can do to sort of help that teacher to overcome the weakness that he or she might have. We also then, after doing that, I then ask the teacher to make a recording. So every time she teaches, she comments on something that I did this today, I didn't think it worked. And then when I get the paper, say like at the end of a week, I'd say, why didn't it work? What do you think you could have done? So in that way, the teacher is at the same time reflecting on herself. The staff is helping that teacher to grow. And I'm also at the back there saying, you can do this, try it this way, try it another way. Because at the end of the day, it's not just one support system. It has to be everybody working together to improve the teaching quality. So when you as a staff is working together, I think the speaker before said something about being supportive and having access to evaluation. That is such a key point. You must support your staff member at all times. You must be able to provide feedback, whether it's negative or it's positive. And when it is negative, to explain why it was negative. Explain what you think went wrong, and then have the teacher explain to you why she did what she did or why it wasn't wrong to them. Because what you might think is a negative might be a positive for that teacher. So then you have to find the middle ground in that negative situation to see where you are coming from and where they're coming from, and then move forward for that.
Amazing. And you just highlighted another key area of leadership. You have to be a coach. You have there's some situations where you're going to have to coach your staff through, right? To understand why they did this, how they're thinking, so you can help them to move from where they're at to the next level. All right. Someone asked me,
on stream a bit. I hope you're hearing me. All right. And at my institution, we have weekly review sessions. On Fridays, before we move on to the following week, we sit and we talk about what has happened during the present week that we are just ending. And we look at things that we can do better for next week, situations that we might have encountered that might have not been dealt with so well, how we can approach that a different way next week and moving forward. So weekly review sessions, looking at what took place and what we can add going forward.
Awesome. That is great. All right.
Is there time to add a little bit?
Yes. Certainly. Go right ahead.
Okay. So at my institution, one of the things I do with my teachers is I would send them little thoughts in the mornings. And if I don't send it in WhatsApp, I try to have a little stand-up briefing with them in the morning. Our speaker this morning, Dr. Barker, made a statement, and I'll just rephrase it. So in order for our children to thrive, our teachers have to thrive. And that's where, as a leader, we come in, because sometimes we don't know the issues they have, personal issues. And so we expect them to come to work and, put everything aside and like everything is well. So we have to be very aware as leaders of our practitioners, kind of know them and know when something is not going well, have that kind of relationship with them where they can speak with you. And so I try to do that with my teachers. Even the recent appraisal that we have had, I would sit down and go through, and basically we're on the same notes. They know the weak areas, they agree, and we talk about how we're going to improve. And there are many times when the officers from the center in Region 4, they would always be sending little tidbits every now and then, and big up to them. And so I just pass it on to my practitioners.
Amazing. That is awesome. Great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. Certainly.
Before you move on, might I add, also too, as a school leader, I'm not a leader per se. I operate in a school where I have main principals. So what's lacking now, it's mentorship. Mentorship is lacking for most early childhood educators. So in our ways of pivoting, we have to put in that element of mentoring. We come to school daily, we are dealing with little people. And we as adults, we have big people issues. So we need a little bit of mentoring. Also too, we have to modernize our teaching strategies. How we teach these 21st century learners are different from how we were taught. So we have to learn to modernize our teaching strategies. Also too, on Thursdays at my school, we meet. If there's not any eventualities, we meet and we plan ahead we pull ideas together, plan ahead for what's to come next.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is important. The huddle and the mentorship, very, very important. Very important. Thanks so much, Sharice Burgess, for sharing that.
You're welcome. Right. You're welcome.
Awesome. All right, let's move into takeaways before we get into the questions. What are your takeaways from your attendance at the PDI? We're going to do that quickly, and you're going to tie that in by including the what topics or tracks should be included in the next PDI. So you're going to take both of them one time, and you're going to tie it together nicely and put it in a full package so that we can move on. What are your takeaways from your top 2 takeaways from PDI 2022? And what topics or tracks should be included in the next PDI? Is there any new one, or do we keep as is? All right, you're on screen, Tanya Gibson. Sound like you're not ready as yet.
I was absent for 2 days because we had field trip at school for Wednesday and Thursday, so we were out. But my takeaway from Monday and Tuesday was that it was very good. It was well run, well put together. The topics were quite relevant and touched on areas that a lot of the teachers needed a little brushing up on, including myself. I don't see at the moment, there's so many things that we can discuss that it's a bit, I can't pick one per se at this point in time. But I know technology is definitely one. How to teach with technology is something that, yes, we really need to get hands-on with that one. I do that, but it's a little bit weak still. But overall, I learned a lot. I must say that it was a good session this week. And yeah, technology. I would input teaching with technology.
All right, but I didn't understand. I mean, the birdie told me that was on it. Take it to them. Remember that one? Or
yes,
you missed that one?
Oh, which day was that? On Wednesday or Thursday? Because I didn't see that one.
Who was in that session?
Who did that session? I'll go back and check for it then.
All right, so you're gonna check that one out. All right,
yes,
amazing.
And I'll tell you about it.
All right, I'm looking forward. Wonder Rod, your top two takeaway, and any new topics to include, or do we keep as is?
My number one would be this morning's last session. Just the social and emotional support for teachers. That for me was great. In fact, you know, I wrote something last night that said how to help teachers every day, how to help them to survive, you know. So that for me was good. And where teachers thrive, students will also thrive. The second one for me was the session on children with special needs. And what actually stood out more than anything else was that the presenter spoke about going into the community and making community members aware that this child had a special need and that this child actually had potential as well. So, you know, the thought of just keeping them hidden away and being ashamed that the children are not normal, as it were, you can remove that. So for me, that was great. I'm not sure, I haven't come up with one that for the next PDI, but I will think about it and forward it to the commission. But I can't think of it right now. Thank you.
All right. It says a lot about Team ECC, covering a lot. All right. Sharice Burgess, your top two takeaways. Anything new?
My favorite session yesterday was a presenter on track 4. She spoke about transitioning. I'm a 5-year-old teacher, so that piqued my interest. So having children, getting them ready for grade 1 with the prerequisite skills are not easy. And the onus is left on me as the 5-year-old teacher to get them ready for grade 1. Therefore, that session yesterday, I jotted down a few suggestions and things that I will have to do to eventually get them more ready, get parents more involved. And the presenter, she was excellent at what she did. So that was my takeaway. I was not on for all of the sessions, but those that I did, I really enjoyed them. Another takeaway is the high level of technology that was used, because not many of us would be able. The last one we went to, it was Montego Bay. When it was face to face, it could not facilitate a lot of practitioners, because, you know, the funding and stuff to get persons all the way to Montego Bay to have the different sessions. So we were now able to meet in a virtual space to learn, and we can also go back to those sessions that we missed, listen during our spare time, and make the relevant notes. So technology, yes, that was one of my great takeaway.
All right, great. Permit
And
me to
also
send you.
transitioning my children to grade 1.
Yes. Awesome. Charisse, permit me to send you some flowers. You mentioned earlier that you're not a leader, but leadership is not a title, right? The mere fact that you're here, it says a lot. That means that your institution trusts you enough to represent, right? Just remember that. Leadership is not a title. Yes,
Thank you.
it's
Thank
who you
you
are.
so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you for sharing as well and for accepting the flowers. All right. Julian and McGregor Williams, your top 2 takeaways.
Yes, I was not able to join in on all this session, but I must say that we were told and understand that as practitioners, we must be able to adapt to the increasing need for and the use of technology to make teaching and learning more impactful at this time. And as leaders in our institutions, we must be able to understand our team members and how to motivate and cater to their needs so that they can effectively carry out their tasks. I must say that at this time, I don't have anything that I would say for ECC to add, because what I realize is that ECC, they are really responsive. Once they would, PDI ends now and they start looking at, and as they go forward, something comes up and they say, yes, we will have to do something. So as things changes, they will find new things to add. They are good like that. And I must commend the Early Childhood Commission for their support, because what they have done is that all their workshops, they are strategically done to accommodate and to help early childhood practitioners. And so far, it is really one of a kind. It is the only of this kind in Jamaica. Am I right?
Oh yes, and it appears to be in the Caribbean, not just in Jamaica.
Right. Yes. And with that, because it is organized for individuals within the early childhood institution, most of the information and what came out of the presentations, not this year alone, it is really relevant to this sector. And I must say, thumbs up.
Amazing. All right. Relevance. All right. Yanita Morris Smith, take this one home. What are your top 2 takeaways?
PDI this year was excellent. All the topics were relevant. What I like is that they are on YouTube. So the ones that I've missed out on, I can just at some other time jump on and fill in the gap. I mean, I will keep on saying, I love the inclusion and transition session. The session that spoke about understanding, addressing speech disorders, how relevant is leadership. The one this morning on social and emotional support for teachers. I mean, the sessions, I can't put in any better than to say they were suitable, relevant. It was what we needed at this particular time coming out of a pandemic. The topics that were addressed were just the right ones. I'm suggesting that for next year, you can look at trauma-informed care, recognizing the signs of trauma and understanding its impact on our children. Because coming from a pandemic, a lot of them have been traumatized by the whole fact that they had to stay inside so much. Their movement was restricted. They could not go out and play and interact and socialize, because we are social people in Jamaica. We grew up on that social basis. So I'm suggesting that for next year that we could look at that as well. And in terms of adding a track, at the end of PDI, you receive a certificate stating that you have attended the session. But what I think we could do is that add another track where there are specified courses where at the end, you receive a certificate or a certification for the 5 days in that particular course. Because guess what? PDI is free. That's one of the great things I like about it. It's free. You can, yes, it's free. You get to upgrade yourself. You get to enhance your skills. You get that professional development sessions going without having to look at to pay for this kind of class, this kind of courses that are offered. So for persons who, and you know, of course, that, you know, being certified is good in the areas to be able to show, yes, I am certified in this area. So add a track wherein there are specific courses. So for example, for the entire 5-day, that track will deal with that particular course. So that there are persons who are interested in being certified in certain areas can tune into that track, and it's monitored in such a way that you're sure that they have attended and participated at a level that they can receive a certification at the end of it, not just for the entire PDI course, but for that particular course that you might choose this year to zoom in or to enhance your skill, your particular skill that you want to take up.
All right, I'm sure the team ECC is taking notes of that. Thank you so much for that. Well said. And boy, it would have been difficult for me to choose top 2. So you all did great. You all did great. All right, so let's wrap up this amazing discussion in the next 5 minutes by looking at policy. Are there any policies you think that should be developed to enhance teaching quality and professional development? Any specific policy you can think of at this time?
That's
yours. Go ahead.
Here. For me personally, professional development for new teachers, because I think that should be mandated, that when new teachers come to us at whether it be at the EC level or higher level, that it be mandated that professional development take place to, you know, to integrate them in the system, because they come to us with a lot of overwhelming feelings and ideas. They come to an unfamiliar environment with varying issues and so on. They are not used to managing a classroom on their own. So we want to look at classroom management, instruction, curriculum, look at different school culture and operation, and even administration and standards and so on. So if we mandate that all new teachers that come to us have to go through, for example, say a 2 weeks worth of professional development just to integrate them in the system and for them to understand the operation of the system, I think that would be good. So we don't have teachers trying to find their footing or getting lost in the environment, but they will go in with some more confidence and be more aware to interact with the children, because they come to us differently. Somebody said it's like a salad bowl the other day. So all of us come with different pieces to that bowl. So we really have to try and, you know, allow them to have their own flavor and so on, while teaching them about the system that they are coming into so that they can be effective.
Amazing.
And, you know, I'm thinking, as Mrs. Brown said, she said mandatory for the new teachers coming in, but it could be mandatory going forward, because some persons think that, you know, the professional development, it's not really necessary and it's overwhelming and all of that. But it should be mandatory, because even now with PDI, some persons will join, some persons might not join, but we want them to understand that it's for your own development. And so having it mandatory, not just as for beginning teachers, but as you go along, you're in the system.
I very much agree. Yes, I very much agree with that, because that's the point I had done too, that we need to make it mandatory. And just as how we have recertification of our ECI every 5 years, something needs to be put in where we have some form of recertification for our practitioners. And PDI is the platform.
Indeed, indeed. Fantastic. I'm just checking out all these awesome comments coming in. All right.
I would like to add,
Go ahead.
Making it mandatory is necessary. But I would like to add that the Jamaica Teaching Council they have a mentorship program, but I do not think that it captures a lot of early childhood education teachers. Most of the persons I interact with, they are either primary or secondary trained. The other day I did a course on a Beyond the Blackboard course. So it was extremely hard to partner with an early childhood educator. All of the persons I interacted with, they were either secondary or primary trained in the primary system. So we making it mandatory for early childhood practitioners to be a part of that. That would be good. I love that suggestion.
Amazing. Because if we're really going to continue to impact the children, which is the ultimate objective, then we really ought to be concerned with how do I improve on this area, because there's so many things competing for our attention and things are changing. Our little ones, they have a mind of their own and you're getting different each time. I'm sure each term, each year, you get a new set of personalities and they are unique individuals. So you really want to be getting all the resources that you can get so that you can learn to manage yourself first and then to manage in terms of sharing the information with them. Well said. All right, we are at 11:30, so we are going to go into some questions. So keep your ears open so that we can respond to these questions posed by our participants. Let's see. All right. Let me get these up. So the first question, at what age would it be a red flag for developmental delay in language? Who wants to take that? At what age would it be a red flag for developmental delay in language? You're muted, Ms. Burgess, if you're responding. All right. Ms. Edwards-Brown, go ahead and take that one.
For developmental delays, we know that different skills start developing at different age. We know that language increases rapidly by the time the child turns about 3. So anywhere beyond 3, you may want to consult a speech therapist or any language specialist to see what is happening with your child.
Okay, and someone else is asking, what are some of the things that could cause these delays?
No communication at home.
Yes.
Child not being spoken to at home. What else? Child might be having a medical condition. Hearing might be also a problem. Child not hearing clearly the words being pronounced. Not enough stimulation, mean child not being given a toy to play with and somebody speaking to the child while the child is playing with the toy. It's a multitude of factors that can arise with the issues. So you can't just pinpoint one, because depending on the situation, it might be different for each child that is there. So the parent would have to speak to the teacher, who could give her a guideline as to what the child should be doing at a certain point. And then both between the teacher and the parent, then they sort of check off to see where the child has not met the criteria, or where the child is lacking, or it is present but it is not developed enough. And then based on that, the child can then be moved forward for referral or to a doctor to see if it is a medical or it is an actual delay.
All right. Really, really great. And I'd want to ask too, when these areas are identified in the various institutions, how do you usually address them with the parent?
First, once you realize that there might be a speech delay with a child or any delay, the first thing that we should do is observe. You have to make your observations, you have to record, because you have to have facts. You cannot say that I think that the child might have a problem. It has to be based on my observation of the child over a specific period of time. I've realized that when I speak to the child is not hearing. If I make a the child doesn't react to it. If I call the child by name, it takes a while for the child to react to me. So you have to log all these incidents and time them and tell them when. It can't be just always in the classroom. When you go outside, is the child hearing or responding to other persons in there? If a whistle is blown, does the child react to it? So you document these things. So when the parent comes in, you then ask the parent, when the child is at home, what do you see the child doing? In that way, you're getting the school setting and the home setting. So you're then able to compare and contrast what is happening to get a better picture of what the issue might be with the child. At that point, then you then say to the parent, based on what the information we have derived from myself and yourself, we then might have to refer you out to get further medical attention or intervention based on what is happening with your child. At that point, the school can then write a letter to whichever medical personnel the parent wishes to go to and explain the situation based on what they have seen at school and based on what the parent has said to them, and then send that to the doctor. The doctor will then do his or her checks with the child, and hopefully, because sometimes they don't, they send back to the school what the issue is and what the school can do to help to resolve or to help with the intervention that the child might have to go through.
Also, it's important to note that even though not all children with autism might have a language delay. Autism.
Mrs. Williams?
Yeah.
You turn on your camera, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead. Okay.
So I was saying earlier that not all children with autism might have language delay, but autism does have some effect on communication.
Okay, great.
After what Mr. Gibson has just said, those are great. But if we have a child at school who has those issues, what we'll do after doing all those documentations and getting the parents or the principal involved, if there are steps in the guidance counselor. So that person source additional help to get that child, whether to be seen by the microcare or any other diagnostician, or get additional help or support.
We lost you after additional help or support. Was that it?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was saying they get that the guidance counselor would now get additional help or support from the ministry. Whether to get the child tested at my course, see a diagnostician or something.
Ms. Burgess, that the guidance counselor comes in if the school has one. If the school doesn't have one, then the school will have to then use the parent as a liaison with the medical personnel. But usually afterwards, because I've had a situation with a child, afterwards a social worker was assigned to the child and the parent to help them to go through the process. Because you know that some parents will deny that there is an issue with the child, and once the denial drops in, then you know that you have another stumbling block to resolve with the parent. So usually they tend to provide social workers or counseling for the parent to ensure that they understand that this is something that is by nature. It is not something that is deliberate. Their child is not damaged. It is something that can be resolved. It might not be resolved 100%, but once the intervention is done, they will see a better improvement in the performance of the child.
Okay, great. There's a comment here indicating that early intervention is very important if a delay in a child milestone is detected. What you don't want to do is for them to transition with these things earlier, detect and address. It's the better it is for that child in terms of progression. All right. Andrea is sharing that the process across will vary, which is that's another thing that we have to remember. that each institution have their individual, their unique challenges in terms of resources and otherwise, right? But it's always good for this conversation, even after this session, to continue so that you can share best practices with each other, right? So that you can navigate the challenges a little smoother. All right. Very great discussion. Someone was asking earlier, this is the closing out ceremony for PDI 2022, and we have some dynamic leaders here sharing what it is that they learned from PDI 2022, how they will be engaging and in terms of moving forward. Thank you all for such a robust discussion. Thank you to our participants online who have shared, and you can continue to engage in the chat. There's also on the YouTube page a link for you to access the evaluation form. Do go ahead and complete that evaluation form so you can get your certificate. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you in this closing out of PDI 2022. It has been my pleasure serving you as moderator for this session. Continue to do what you do with passion, and all that you have learned, just wrap it up and just move forward. All right. Thank you so much. And now hand back over to our facilitator.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wave your rag, wave your rag, wave your rag if you love PDI. Well, wave your rag, wave your rag, wave your rag if you love PDI. Well, get something and wave, get something and wave. Yes, get something and wave if you love PDI. Yes, yes, yes. It is the end. But guess what? We're not done yet. We still not celebrate. We said Early Child Commission and we said PDI. It was a strawbelicious, splendid for us, a very informative discussion. The panel discussion said one. I just want to say there are some salient points, some very important points that I took from this discussion. And look here, it says, let me take my time and read it now. Teach the child and not the curriculum. Teach the child and not the curriculum. Too much time we're so fixated on the curriculum. Guess what? Put on the curriculum a bit, man, and learn the different learning styles of our children. We have the auditor, we have the visual, we have the tactile. Utilize our children. Utilize the resources that we have in our classes. I learned a new word when I came into the Early Child Commission. New words. It's called loose parts. No more trashable, we could use a correct name, right? Loose parts. And that's what we're going to use to help our children. I remember yesterday in one of our discussion on the stream track. Yes, we're going to things on the stream. Yes, man. And I learned that although the children with disability are there in our class, we can still utilize stream to facilitate their learning. And it helps. They showed a video with different children with disabilities and how it helped, they spoke, and how it helped them to better understand the whole classroom environment. So I just want to say thank you very much. Let me call out everybody by name. Our able moderator, Mrs. Winsome Witzer. You hear the question I must ask? She go on with beer things. And we had Miss Wanderrod, Miss Yanita Morris-Smith, we had Miss Cherise Burgess, we had Mrs. Julian McGregor Williams, we had Miss Tanya Gibson. Miss Tanya Gibson, I don't know if you remember this lovely face right here, and Michael. I am a Myconian. Yes, Miss Gibson, I remember when you came to my school and you evaluated me. And guess what? Some of the points that were made by these panelists, it was quite informative, very intriguing, and I know that you all understood. And I hope you had your pens, your pencil, your paper to write on. All right? I also want to thank our very own Mrs. Anja Edwards Brown. You hear she go on and her things when she talk about the 0 to 3 cohort, and she go on and she talk. And she said that although you're changing the little ones, you need to remember you still can communicate with them, and this can help to build their language development. So guess what? PDI not done yet. We're still there. Early Child Commission still are going bigger and better. Up, 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 Early Child Commission. We are going up, up, up. And we're going up together. Practitioners, we're going up together. So let us continue to have a jolly good time with PDI. I'm going to tell you something, don't you know? So at this time, I'm going to ask you, remember to fill out your evaluation sheet. And you know where to go, don't it? pdi.ecc.gov.jm. Don't forget it. Hurry up, go and fill it out and come back. So at this time, I'm going to turn over to our very own master ceremony, Mr. Leighton Jones.
Thank you so much. But me no need for day here. What a lady full of energy and vibes. I am telling you, when I joined, is what I joined, Stream 3? Yes. Yeah, man, Stream 3. I say me join again and again about three something me go to Stream 3. Because I'm telling you, she was a facilitator. And me say, you don't need a presenter with she. Me say she full of energy, she full of vibes, she have the information. She's fantastic. Where she work? Where she work? No, the people inside here with me must know. You hear the mouth? She works at the ECC. She belongs right here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Now, we are at the closing. But you know, we're closing style. And so I hope you have put on your dancing shoes. I hope you have take out your Jamaican flags. I hope you put on your Jamaican t-shirt and all of that. And you're ready to just have fun going out the PDI ECC way. But just before we get there, we'd like to, at this time, invite the captain of the ship. The captain of the ship to just come and say, we say thanks, but it's nicer when it comes from she. All right? And so at this time, we invite Mrs. Carlene Deslandes to give her final thank you.
See, she's a part, I have to say it, and I have to say it in camera, that she is from ECC, a part of Team ECC. Okay, so Master of Ceremonies, again, Mr. Leighton Jones, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who was our keynote speaker, Minister of Education, Youth and Information, the Honorable Favour Williams, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, Opposition Spokesperson on Education, our Chairperson, Mrs. Trisha Williams-Singh, who is known as the Energizer Bunny. Other commissioners, of the Early Childhood Commission, Mr. Leo Gilling, the Chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network, JD-TAN, and other members of JD-TAN and the diaspora, the Chief Executive Officer of Culture, Health, Art, Sports, Education, Chase Fund, Mr. Billy Heaven, the Executive Director, Barita Foundation, Mrs. Tankita Chance Wilson, our other partners, parents, practitioners, participants from across the world. I must say again, Team ECC, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me immense pleasure, and when I say immense pleasure, you don't understand how happy I am standing here to bring the final remarks for PDI 2022. In the year that Jamaica, again, because we make history every once in a while, you know, a small country in the Caribbean, we make history every once in a while in sports and in other things. But we made history again this year when 2022 was proclaimed by the Governor General, Sir Patrick Allen, the year of early childhood development. That's a big deal. I am very proud of Team ECC. On behalf of the chairman, the ECC Board of Commissioners, the PDI planning team, and the entire Team ECC, I convey warmest, heartfelt thanks to all our participants. or approximately 11,000 registrants, understand, who stayed with us over the 5 days. You're talking about registrants from here in Jamaica, as you would expect. But we had from Cayman, the UK, USA, India, China. Dr. Barker was presented from Dubai this morning. So understand. I say thank you to all our sponsors, especially our 3 title sponsors, J.D. Tan, Chase, and Burrito Foundation. I say thank you to the National Baking Company, Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation, Cheetah Toys and more, Next Generation Learning Solutions, Lasco Distributors Limited, Royal Computers and Accessories for supplying the gifts that allowed us to recognize the work and commitment of our children, parents, and practitioners during the COVID-19 pandemic. I say again, thank you to our keynote speaker, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, and to all our distinguished presenters from all over the world. As I said, Dr. Barker was from Dubai. What we had from here in Jamaica, our colleagues, we had from Kenya, we had from the USA, UK, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the Bahamas. Your knowledge and expertise on how we can support our children's learning and development. On the corridors of this virtual training platform, we made connections. We had discussions that resonated with us. We stirred our thinking and awoken our appetite for more conversation on how we can sharpen our skills to promote better child outcomes. I thank all the participants who attended the sessions, raised pertinent questions, and shared, most importantly, shared their experiences. My heartiest congratulations to all of you for your commitment, dedication, and active engagement in this learning experience. I again await your feedback so that we can continue developing the solutions together, moving from policy to action. Be assured that Team ECC will continue to work closely with you to advance the implementation of best practices to secure the right future for all of our children. To the best team in the public sector, Team ECC, thank you for hosting another successful PDI. The best team in the public sector. What will PDI 2023 look like? Will it be virtual? Will it be face-to-face? Will it be hybrid? Where will it be? I have a question for you. Is your passport current? Is your passport current? Just a question. Just a question. Stay tuned, as one thing is sure, it will be one of a kind. Mark your calendars. Mark your calendars. PDI 2023 will be May 15 to 19th. I won't disclose the location just yet. So you have to stay tuned to all our social media platforms over the next couple of months to know the where. Let's remain focused on Jamaica's Vision 2030 by improving the quality of early childhood care, education, and development, especially for Jamaica's most vulnerable. Thank you, and have a great rest of ceremony.
Now, when I said to you that no one else can do the thank you the way she can, I could have read the words. But you see, I couldn't tell you and ask you if your passport current. Because I don't know why I would be asking that, but mine current. So I'm declaring that. And just the way she was, who said it? What you say? Year one current too? All right, and ready. All right, good to go. And we're ready with everything for anywhere. Miss D said, we go, right? ECC, China, India, Malaysia, Dubai, you know, because I'm just saying on PDI this year, we have those from India, we have those from China, we have those from the Cayman Islands, and Mr. Gentles will tell me who else and which other country we have. We have so many other countries here participating. And you see, the thing about chaos when it happens, we react, you know, but then we have to come back down after the reaction, and then we have to just move forward. Because COVID could have caused us to decide, here, well, we're not doing a PDI, because we started face-to-face. But guess what? We've now been able to make it happen once, make it happen twice, but we have now been able to reach worldwide. And that's really visionary leadership. And so we thank you so much, Mrs. D, and your team, Nicole, that called my phone almost every day 2 times. Sometimes me nobody answer. And so what Miss Nicole do is call from Miss D phone, so that when she not get me, she get me will answer Miss D. And I can imagine that's the strategy that Miss D work out with Nicole to get to all of the participants, phase 3, and everybody who they can get to, they then call for one other phone and get them another time. Yeah, and so because success is the product, and so we're happy to say that we are coming to the close of PDI 2022. I'm going to invite all of those who are in the hub with us to stand. Me know not like when they're big up, but we're going to big up and thing. So please stand if you're in the hub. If you're in the hub, to include our director. If you're in the hub, please stand. Please stand. I'm going to invite you to do something else. Just move right from where you are right into this area here. So this little front part here. So the camera, the people want to see you. They have to see you. You have been working so hard. So don't stay down there. No, just come. Just come. The driver, everybody. Sir, you too. The hospital, they don't move yet. The computers won't shut down. They won't shut down right there. So yes, anywhere in that in this quadrant here, anywhere here, anywhere here, and that includes Mr. Gentles. Yes, because if you move from that computer, we won't shut down. Just quickly in this quadrant here, so that we all can see. It includes Mrs. D. Yes, thank you. Push him right here, right here. Right. Let them meet you. Let them meet you. Let the world meet a part of the team that made PDI 2022 this success it has been. Don't stay long. Mr. Driver, sir, no. Director of Transportation. Let us invite the Director of Transportation. I'm still waiting on the two that taking time to come. Think me not go see them. I'm waiting on you. Yes, I'm waiting on you all. Ladies and gentlemen, in cyber world, please meet the team that worked from the hub. And I'm still waiting on Miss over there. Yes. Miss Stitchfield. Yes. Miss Portland. Yes. Let me say my student. Yes. Can we get, the hospitality team is still out front, but all are we in here, so we not eat now. So I introduce to you the team from the hub, the team that they here from last week, Thursday, and they spread them bed. I just said to Miss D, we should take the pictures of the children. Their children are here. Their children have under them blankets in the room there, so they can't leave them at home, because guess what? They have to be here. They do everything to ensure that PDI 2022 is a success. The children in the corner, they lie down on the blanket, then they put one little bench. You see them on their iPad doing their work while they are here ensuring that PDI 2022 is a success. Could we just put our hands together for them? Yeah. And like the Early Childhood Commission would encourage our teachers to do, we're going to see how involved they are in the process. And so yesterday in one of the sessions, we learned about process art and product art. And so right now we want to talk about process. Yes, Miss Cindy, what you call the aquamarine, something. She start already. That is what process and play is. And I like that Mr. Gentles is front and center. Yeah, Mr. Gentles, don't move, man. Director of ICT, don't move, man. All right. And so we're going to give a little stimulus. And we want to see, when you hear this stimulus, how do you respond? ECT team, are you ready, Mr. Courtney? Yeah, man, make we hear. Let's go with the stimulus and let us see how you respond. Come, we teach them all of this week, you know. We teach them all of this week. So guess what? We have to see what you do. That's your stimulus. That's your stimulus. Turn it up. Yeah. That's your stimulus. Go on, Miller. Show them, Miller. Yeah. Watch TikTok. Watch TikTok. Miller, what the TikTok up there? Yeah, show them. All right. Miss D, your time. Front and center. Miss D, your time. China waiting. Let's see. Yeah. Your daughter dance at level 5 in ballet, she is, you know. Yeah. Next. Gentles, are you away pan? Yeah, you away pan. Yeah. Sit them there. Show a camera. Yeah. What that name? The Blackbird? What that name? The Blackbird? China, what that name? What about our communication specialist? Come, show us something. What about our communication specialist? Where is she? Come on. Yeah? Oh, yes. What that name? Hold on. What that name? The carry come? All right, thank you so much. All right, Director of Transportation. All righty, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. It was just fantastic seeing the team here working from the hub. And I'm telling you, see the one over there, so the logistics lady, and she never stops working. See there, she makes sure that she's surfing at this time, so we didn't call her up here. But that's fine, we can call her now. Miss Yvette Wilson, just come and wave so that China can see you, so that India can see you. Come, Miss Yvette, come. The camera down there, so the camera up here, so you have to make your way so that they can see you. Come on, wave so they can. You have to move the mask. They want to see your face.
Good morning, world.
Somewhere else it's afternoon and somewhere else it's good night. All right, so guess what? We're going to close it out the ECC way, and we have with us DJ KNNC. And so if you are, wherever you are, make sure you have on your Jamaica t-shirt, your Jamaica flag. And for the next half an hour, 45 minutes, we're just going to have a nice ECC dance party. And we'll make sure, so we want to see you all on Zoom. So am I to ask them to go over to Zoom? Yeah, man. Go on over to Zoom. We're waiting on you to join. Get into the Zoom party so that we can have you on screen. And then guess what? We're going to be having a wonderful party. So at this time, Mr. Courtney Alexander, DJ KNNC, will take us out.
Our time now, evening. Good evening, everybody. Or good afternoon, you know. It's Friday, so we could do it the Jamaican, you know. We can get some Jamaican flag in the comments.